Welcome to Wildy's Garage and welcome back to Coyote Swapping my Foxbody. Today we are installing a Dakota Digital instrument cluster for 90 to 93 Foxbodies. Here we go. I've started without you guys, but really wasn't much to see. Right here I've got kind of the bus station, I guess you could call it, for all of the indicators in the dash going to the original wiring on the car. So everything on this bus station, I've already got wired up that I'm going to use. So right here, no matter what car you're going to use, if you get the Dakota Digital dash, you're going to have to use this ignition power 12 volt VDC constant in the ground. That's always going to be used. I got two gray wires for the 12 volt constant in the ground. Definitely shouldn't do that, but I've got them labeled down here. I'm working with what wires I have from the old engine and the old wiring harness for the Coyote. So moving over to this side, you've got the dimmer switch, or not dimmer switch, this is going to be the dim switch for the dash itself when I turn the headlights on. Headlights turn on, the whole gauge cluster will dim for nighttime mode. Next up we got brake switch. That's for the parking brake. That's just going to get wired to the switch. One of these wires, I can't remember which one, but yeah, it's just going to go to one of those. That way when it's up, it'll just have that red park light on the dash. After that, high beams, pretty self-explanatory. And left and right turn signal. One last thing that I didn't mention, this guy here, this is actually going to be the dimmer switch for the dash, and that is going to just go right up here. Ground and signal wire. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So that's all the wiring that's going to go into this. That's going to be that's going to allow me to use the turn signals and the turn signals coming up in the dash. High beams when I turn those on, headlights when I turn those on. No headlights. We won't have a light for the headlights. But anyway, that's all that's really going on with this. Next up, I have the bus interface module for OBD2 vehicle interface. So this is going to give me everything that I need as far as battery voltage, water temperature, oil pressure, speed, and tach. All that information is going to come from this, so I don't have to essentially use this stuff right here, which is oil pressure, temp sensor. I believe there's something for the speedo cable, adapter pieces, all that stuff. I don't have to worry about that because I'm just pulling all the data straight from the computer in the engine. And then this cable is going to be the main cable that goes from this to the dash. This cable here is going to be the information from the computer going into this guy that will then go through this wire to the dash to display it. Next up, switch. This switch is going to let you toggle between the two different screens here. Or I guess, yeah, it should let you toggle between the screens and what information you want displayed. And then it'll also allow you to reset parameters in those screens. So if you had trip A or something in one of the screens, I don't know which one displays that specifically, but if you were to hold down the switch, it'll reset whatever is on that screen. And then finally a buzzer. A buzzer. I don't know what else to call it. That's what they call it. I'm not 100% sure what all will buzz, I guess. I don't know. From the dash. But I'm going to hook it up anyway because I don't know. It says to hook it up, so I'm going to hook it up. As far as all the wiring here, all these are just signal wires, so I don't even know what size gauge wire this is. It's very small, but it's not gonna pull a whole lot of, I guess, amps. I think that's the right terminology. There's not a lot of power going through it. But the ignition power, 12 volt VDC constant, those are gonna have some more power, so I got some thicker wires. It says to use an 18 gauge wire for those. I at least have an 18 gauge on those. I think they're a little bit bigger, but anyway, right now I've got the dash actually in the car. It's not mounted up or anything, but I think I'm going to mount it up. I'm going to mount it up, get all the wires that go into the back of it here, which, like I mentioned earlier, is only like two. So that display cable, that gray one that I showed over there, and then the buzzer wiring will also go into the back of this. That's all that goes into the back, which is actually pretty nice. It keeps it neat and clean behind the dash. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room back there anyway. I think these plugs are actually going to line up with some of these holes back here. So yeah, I'm going to get those wires onto the back of this, get this mounted up, and then move on from there. I have an idea of where I want to mount this, but I'm not 100% sure if it'll work, or if I 100% want to run it there, because there might be a slight chance that water may get close to it, just depending on how careful I am, I guess. But I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to put this dash in and the wiring that goes to it. Before I get started on wiring all of these wires up, I'm going to go over this little chart here, I guess I got. Before I get all of these wires situated where they need to go. I got this little chart here that I made breaking down all of the switches that need to be tapped into, starting with the multifunction switch here, which is just the turn signal stock. The left turn signal is going to be a light green wire with a white tracer. Right turn signal is going to be orange with a light blue tracer. High beams, light green with a black, or red with a black, because each headlight is going to have a wire going to it, so you can tap into either one of those. Hazard, that's going to be a light brown with red tracer. That's actually going to be on the hazard switch here. Main light switch, the Dakota Digital instructions tell you to wire the switch for dimming the dash into the tail light, but I think headlight would be just fine also, because when I turn on the headlight, the tail lights are going to come on. So I guess technically if you want it, I would put the dim switch or dim wire to the tail lights, because you can have the running lights on, and that'll just have the park, or not running lights, but the parking lights on, and that'll have the rear tail lights on, front park lights on, and then the dash would also still be dim. So you could run it that way if you want, but I'm just going to run it to the headlights, so anytime the headlights are on, the dash will automatically dim. So moving on, for the hot all the time, or the 12 volt constant, that is going to be this yellow wire here that I had previously labeled when I did the control pack. I actually didn't need to use this for the control pack, but I labeled it anyway because I figured I'd probably need a hot all the time wire eventually. So kind of help myself in the future. So thank you, pass me. Anyway, so I got that wire, and then the ignition power, or the 12 volt power on, I have white with a pink stripe, and that is the starter request wire, which that's wrong. You don't want to wire it to the starter request wire, because that's only getting power when you are starting the car, so that wouldn't work. The wire that I'm actually going to go to is this one right here. This is a ignition 12 volt on, this red with, or green, no, red with green stripe. So all of that needs to get wired up, and should be pretty quick. So here we go. All right, got everything wired in. Got the battery hooked up. Hopefully this thing doesn't blow up. Connect switch. All right. I thought the switch was connected. That would be this guy. Maybe it's not pushed in all the way. Well, now I know what that buzzer's for. Oh, the switch is definitely in. Alright. Saying the same thing. Should probably, it's saying the same thing. Check the switch, but probably read the instructions before I do anything else. Okay. I think it was just going off because the fuel is low. And that's what it's supposed to do. Alright, cool. Well, now I know that works. There's a lot of stuff in here. Alright, well, like I was saying, so screen 1 should be that one. This is screen 2, and then you can toggle through everything. Oh, this has a built-in, how do I go back? Little 0 to 60, quarter mile, eighth mile. Oh, I didn't know that. I wonder if that actually works, or if I need a different module for that. I don't know, I guess I'll find out. Miles per hour. Oh. I got the universal. Oh yeah, I don't need it. Oh, sick. Okay. Well, now I confirmed my gear selector, or my shift linkage I made actually works. Well, that's not a gear, that's not a shifter linkage problem, that's a this thing problem. Always have to push to the right or something, I don't know. There we go. There's reverse, neutral. Nope, that's saying neutral. Drive, manual mode. Okay. I don't know if that's actually manual mode. It should be, that should be sport mode. That might have to get calibrated. Hopefully you guys can actually see what I'm saying. Cool. Well, I might actually end up having to adjust that. I don't know. Oh, well, anyway. Booyah. Uh-oh, that one's not flashing. Flashing up here. Oh, that's flashing up here. Why isn't it flashing over here? Huh? Did I get the wrong? Might have got the wrong wire on that one. Might have to switch that one too. So, oh, the dim works. That's good. Nope, there it is. Okay, cool. So, got the high beams good. Left turn signal's good. I don't know why. You can hear a difference too in the relay from right signal to left signal. And the left signal is the one that actually turns on. I don't know. Let me... Maybe... I don't know why it would do that. It's the same bulb. Well, I got it to blink properly, and it sounds good over here on the relay, but it's still not showing up. On the dash. So I think I may have gotten a wire wrong, so I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, everything else works. Got high beam, the flasher, flash to pass or whatever it's called. Dim switch comes on. High beams. One thing I did not hook up yet was parking brake. But yeah, I think I'm gonna put the dash all the way in now. And then I think I'm going to throw together the rest of the interior. There's no real need to have it apart anymore, so I'm gonna button everything up and then yeah. This is pretty sweet. Oh, the fuel sender unit. Yeah, the reason why the buzzer keeps going off when I first turn the ignition on is because the fuel is low. But I just realized I don't know how to set up the fuel sender. I don't know if it's on. Maybe it was on there. Dang it. Fuel input. Alright. Definitely needed to use that then. Fuel input. Yup. Shit. Alright, well that sucks because that's whatever it's called. Control box. It's kind of a pain to get up in there. Mostly the zip ties that hold it in. That's what really sucks to get in. So I'm gonna have to pull that back out for the fuel sender unit. One thing I forgot to check. The dimmer switch, that's what I forgot to check. I think I might need the lights on. Oh, okay, it does work. Sick. Cool. Alright, before I drain my battery even more, I'll just hold off on that. Alright, cool. Well, I got like 99% of all that wiring right. The only thing I didn't get right was that turn signal. It's the next day, and I've pretty much wrapped up the interior. Not really, but I got a lot of stuff installed. Got the little dash cover here. I got the actual dash in. All the switches wired up. I still need to finish mounting that up. I know you guys probably just saw me mount that up. This is actually my third time that I'm going to mount this up because I forgot to put things in. First thing I forgot to put in, dimmer switch. And then I mounted it back up, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, maybe that fuel warning isn't working because, well, I don't have the wires hooked up to the control box in there. So took it back out this morning and then wired it up. Hopefully it works. I've got it wired to the fuel sender wires back here. Oh geez, this whole insulation's falling apart. Should probably just take it out. Well, anyway, you guys get the point. It's actually wired right here. Anyway, yeah. So here it says, if your wiring harness already has a single signal wire routed through the vehicle for the fuel sensor, then it may be used. If using a wire from an existing harness, make sure that the wire does not have power. So as far as I know, that power back there, or the wire back there, does not have power, so it should work. I know in the old gauge, and you can kind of see it on here, this old gauge is still showing the fuel level. I think that's just an old gauge thing. However, it wouldn't show me the actual fuel level until I started the car. So that gauge there would fluctuate, well, mostly down after you shut the car off. And then when you started it back up, it would bring it back to the correct level. So I'm kind of thinking that's what's going to happen here. I just need to start it, and hopefully the fuel sensor will start working. I also still need to calibrate it. So that's one thing I'll probably do right now, is start calibrating all this stuff, which really is only two things. I just need to do the speedometer and the fuel sender. And to do that, you hold either one of the switches for the screen, and then turn the key to ignition, and that will put it into setup mode, and then I can start setting up from there. So yeah, all I should need to do is fuel input, and there's a chart somewhere. Maybe it's in this one, maybe it's in this one, I don't know. I think it's in this one. Here we go. Here's the chart. So I'm going to be setting it to 420 to 150 ohms, late 80s and later. So I'm going to go to the Ford menu, or I'm going to go to Ford to 2050 in the menu, and that will set the fuel sensor up. And so then it might start working also. So but the manual also, dude, I don't know. The manual also did say that if it's out of range, oh no, I was talking about open circuit. Never mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get some of this, well, the speed and the fuel sensor set up here, and then see if that starts working, and then from there I will start the vehicle. So here we go with the setup. All right, instructions say hold either one of the switches while turning the ignition. We're in setup mode. Tap switch to scroll, left is up, right is down, hold switch to select menu option. Just for reference, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but let me just back you guys up a little bit. So you can see fuel level is at that first hash right under the half on the old gauge cluster. But like I said, it does fluctuate after the car has been shut off when it was the old engine setup. But this one is, it's actually in between. Sorry, moving the camera, it's probably loud. Sorry about the flashing screen there. But it's just below, right in between that, I guess, quarter tank and that hash right below a half tank, whatever measurement that is. And that's in the 73-10 Ford setting, which is 80s, early to late 80s. So I wonder if in these Fox bodies they were just using that sensor style still. But I'm going to keep it at that because that's actually closer to what it would be than if I did 2150, which would be the other, I guess, more accurate option or technical option, considering this is a later than late 80s car. So I'm gonna keep it here. Well, fuck, I can always change it, so I'll keep it here for now. Well, I'll go with the one it tells me to. 2150, I'll go with that one. Leave it there for now. And call it good. Alright. Alright. I farted around with the gauges some more. And I think I have everything set to where if I start this, everything should come up. So, here we go. Maybe. Oh, jeez. It's now 3 hours later, 4 hours later, and I've been trying to figure out how to get this thing started again, because for whatever reason it decided it didn't want to start after I got everything together. But I finally figured it out. And it was just some trouble codes, the DTCs, diagnostic trouble codes. There's one for the inlet sensor, air temperature, or not air temperature sensor, but whatever this is, the MAF sensor. No, not MAF. Mass airflow? Yeah, MAF. Anyway, whatever sensor that is. There was codes for that. And then there was also codes for the intake runners. So I need to get a tune, so that one will go away. But I don't know exactly why this one came up. I think maybe because I attempted to start it without it plugged in. I'm not 100% sure, but as soon as I cleared the mount, the car started right up. I didn't show any of the car running, but the gauge does work, and there's a couple gauges that I think I need to adjust a little bit. The fuel gauge is still working. The water temp is actually still working, 175 degrees. I got the car up to, it was like 215 before I shut it off because of another problem that I'll show you here in a minute. But the oil pressure, that was working, and it was showing like 120 PSI or something. And then after a while, it went down to like 26 PSI at idle. So I think that self-adjusted and it's working now. Fuel, like I said, is working. Voltage working. And that's really it. I tried to put it in gear, immediately heard grinding gears because there wasn't enough trans fluid and I ran out of trans fluid. I put another like quart-ish, probably another quart in there, and it's still not even reaching the dipstick. So I gotta order, I'm just gonna order another gallon of that stuff because I still don't know if the thermostat opened for the trans cooler. I don't believe there's any fluid in there, so once that opens up, more fluid will go into there. So I don't think I got the trans up nearly to the temperature of where that thermostat opens. I think it's like 135 degrees, I want to say, or maybe 180. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head for the thermostat for the transmission. But I don't think I got it anywhere near that temperature. Well, maybe I did. Well, yeah, it probably did, actually, now that I think about it. Because before I started it, it was definitely at like that 5 to 6 range where it was supposed to be. In the last video that I showed filling that thing up, I filled it to the 5 or 6 or 5.5 to 6 mark on the dipstick. And that's like the operating range. So if the thermostat never opened, it should have stayed in that same range. Maybe have gone up a little bit because when the oil warms up, it becomes more viscous. I don't know. But if it was as low as I'm saying, like it wasn't even registering on the dipstick, so I'm gonna assume that the thermostat did open in the trans and it's running through the lines in the cooler, which if that is the case, then all of my lines are holding up. Nothing leaking over here, so again, not 100% able to confirm that, but I did run it before with like a gallon and a half of that trans fluid, and then I topped it off after I ran it for the first time. So like I said, I'm assuming it opened. I got to get more trans fluid anyway, it's low. So moving on to the cooling issue. This is the inline fuse for this guy, which controls the cooling fans if the computer turns it on or if I turn it on from the inside here with the AC switch there. So if I turn on the AC in the car, it will turn on the fan if the engine hasn't already turned it on. And then if I don't have the AC on and the engine gets up to whatever temperature it needs to turn the fans on, it'll turn the fans on. So that's what this little box does. It's got the AC control and then the Ford Performance fan control. And then it goes to this guy, and then this guy just, I'm pretty sure this is just like a starter solenoid type thing. So it just turns it on when it needs to turn on. I also have some more grounds on it and some more power wires coming off of it. But anyway, the fuse that I had in here was a 30 amp fuse. I got it from Power by the Hour. So I got to call them and ask what size fuse I need to run. And if it is, you know, a 30 amp fuse, then I have another issue that I need to figure out. But anyway, I got to figure that out. Got to add more trans fluid. Those are the two biggest things. I also need to get some more coolant, but that's kind of whatever. There was enough in there to run the car. Fuel pressure, I adjusted that per the Ford Performance package or Ford Performance control pack instructions. It says to run 65 psi, so I adjusted that while it was running to 65 psi. It dropped down since then, but topped off power steering fluid, that's whatever. But yeah, I was really hoping I was going to drive this car today, but since the trans fluid, I don't have enough of that. I'm definitely not trying to destroy a transmission that costs $10,000 to rebuild. I don't know how much it is. I think it's like $5,000 to rebuild these transmissions, but I'm not trying to pay that. So I'm just going to wait till, well, I have to wait. There's no way I'd be able to drive it without trans fluid. But if I had enough trans fluid, I probably would have driven it. Even with the cooling fans not turning on, I would have just driven it for a little bit before it got too hot. But yeah, ripperoni. I was really hoping to drive it. But at least I got the Dakota Digital gauge in, and that thing is sweet. I don't know if I already went over this, but it does have, obviously, digital speedometer. You got your trip A on this side, clock on this side also. Over here, you got your shifter, whatever it's called, indicator, and the mileage, which I need to set the mileage. And then trip B, range, I'm not 100% sure what that one is. Service miles, I think that's service to, or mileage to next service. I believe that's what that one is. Timer, I don't know. Track timer, sure. Water temp, obviously oil pressure, voltage, fuel. And then these two are probably the coolest screens. You got your quarter mile, seconds, and mile per hour. And then you got your eighth mile, seconds, and mile per hour. So you can just do that on the street instead of going to a track, which you should go to a track to do a quarter mile and eighth mile racing. Anyway, also got a 0 to 60, and then records the highest mile per hour. So that is definitely the coolest screen by far. Can't wait to use that. Definitely be a video on that. But yeah, I think everything is good. Yeah. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will catch you on the next one.